It's time again for the Insiders with Chuck Chvala and Scott Jensen, sponsored by the Wisconsin Counties Association and the Tommy G. Thompson Center on Public Leadership.
Hi, I'm Chuck Chvala, former Senate Majority Leader.
And I'm Scott Jensen, former Assembly Speaker.
And we're the Insiders. So, Scott, there's been a parade of Trump officials coming to the state of Wisconsin, obviously in an effort to bolster the chances of Republicans in the fall election. Is it going to help?
I actually think it will help. I realize that at a time when the president is unpopular, some people might say, well, why would you remind people about that? Why would you be sending people into a 50-50 state where people are thinking this is an election that's a referendum on President Trump? Why would you stir people up like that? But I don't think you could stir up the anti-Trump crowd any hotter than they are right now. I mean, they have reached peak level. I mean, they're making up reasons to have demonstrations here in Brookfield every couple of weeks. I mean, I think they're at peak. The election can't come soon enough for those folks. So the challenge that Republicans face is we have a persuasion challenge and we have a turnout challenge. On the persuasion side, we need to win over independent men and married independent women. That's the crowd that we need to move over. We had them before. We have been losing them during this second term of President Trump. We need to get them back in. And then we need a completely different challenge to happen, to be won, and that is to get those working class folks who put President Trump over the top in all these Midwestern states. We need them to turn out, and they don't normally turn out in these off-year elections. So one way to do that is for high-profile visits from people from the Trump team into selected media markets where they're talking about, I would say, red meat issues that would get those Republicans stirred up, while at the same time there's a paid campaign that's talking to the independents who will make up the difference, I think, in most of the state here in Wisconsin. So we need a sky-high turnout in rural areas. I think you're going to see more visits from the Trump White House in northern and western Wisconsin, the Wausau Media Market, those sorts of places. I doubt they will go to Madison. I doubt that.
Well, I think Scott is correct that there is a lot of work that needs to be done for Republicans, and getting the base ginned up is really what's needed, and drawing over those people. I think the problem is I just don't see it working this year. You know, we kind of had a precursor to this election this spring in the race for for Wisconsin Supreme Court. And what we've been seeing now for the last few years is that we're getting 10 or 11 point margins for the progressive / Democratic candidate in the Supreme Court. This spring, we ended up with a 20% margin, 21% actually for Chris Taylor, which is unheard of. Now, admittedly, spending wasn't there on the Republican side. They appropriately, in my view, walked away from the race. But still, the base should be there, at least at some level, and we didn't have it. Now, the gubernatorial turnout will be somewhat higher, but as Scott points out, it's not a presidential turnout. I think that what you saw there is probably still hanging around, not just lingering, but I think is still strong. And the base, there really isn't a lot for them to get excited about. And now, you know, we don't have an existing ceasefire that's going to hold. There are a lot of problems. Prices are higher. I just do not see in fact, I think there could possibly be a backlash against the administration sending people in, because it just reminds people that these are nationalized races and they're not happy about the national. And it's going to prevent local candidates from getting as much traction, perhaps, that I'm different. I'm different than DC. Oh, really? I saw you at the rally for J.D. Vance or whatever. So I think that Scott is, as always, the best advocate for Republicans and what they need to do. And I think he's right about what they should try. I just think it's going to fail miserably.
Well, we do face a challenge. The Democrats are more jazzed about voting in this election than Republicans are, and something needs to change. And I think the White House is trying to help get the Republican base as jazzed up as the Democratic base is. We'll see if they can pull that off.
We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to The Insider with Chuck Chvala and Scott Jensen, sponsored by the Wisconsin Counties Association and the Tommy G. Thompson Center on Public Leadership.